Give me some minutes. Um, yeah, I think we are in live
Mm-hmm.
for sure. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, first of all, I really want to thank you for accepting to join me for this
Mm-hmm.
call. So today, hello guys, hello everyone. We are with Mr. Chima. First of all, I will let you introduce yourself, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and then we are going to talk about the topic itself, like
Okay.
deployment with Dart and Flutter, and yeah, also present globe tools so people
Mm-hmm.
can really understand why they should use block, for example. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Chima. Everybody calls me Chima. I am a software engineer and I currently work at Invertis, and specifically I work on the Globe team. I'm part of the engineers that work on Globe, and it's a really big pleasure to be here to talk about, that to talk about deployment for Dart and Flutter and mentioning Globe as one of the viable options that you can use. So yeah, it's nice to be here to talk.
Hmm. Yeah, it is a very big pleasure to have you there. But before we
Mhm,
just delve directly in, like,
mhm,
what it look like to work with inverters, for example?
mhm. Yeah, I think to work with at Invertase, I think it's one of the things that I've always been looking forward to because in my I like to say in my previous life I used to like just work on Flutter applications where you're just building things that you test on the mobile iOS and Android,
Mm,
and a couple of packages that I use I realized that it was being actively developed by Invertase, and then like I always just kept thinking like maybe after some while when I'm like when I've had enough of like building like client side applications, maybe I can move towards building things like tools that other engineers would use to like building those kind of things. So Invertis was one of those companies that I always imagined myself working at, and currently that I work there, I think it's the perfect kind of company for me because it's a company, but then we have a lot of products that are being actively worked on. So if I could be working on this
okay.
thing today, I could be working on some other components tomorrow. And for
Yeah.
someone like me that gets bored easily, like I think just switching that kind of context just helps me get going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
So, like you are saying, when you are working on a product, for example,
Hmm.
um, are you working at that I can say in the team, or are you
Hmm.
working like alone on different kind of project? Yeah.
Yeah, so we at Invertis we do have teams that focus on some particular products, and like I mentioned, like we have a lot of things going on. So there are teams that focus on uh, working on our open source contributions. We have a couple of packages that are in open source that the Flutter community benefits from, and then we have a couple of
Mm,
other things that like a product like Globe like this where I work on it personally with some other engineers. And when we come to Invertis, that's specifically what we do. Anything that has
mm.
to do with Globe, we work on that. And then there are some other products that are being worked on, that some other teams that I don't even get to talk to them,
Yes.
that kind
Mm,
of a thing. Yeah.
Okay, that's looking very amazing,
Hmm.
because I think working as Flutter developer
Hmm.
as inverters can be like something. It is like very always some achievement, and
Hmm.
yeah, that's good.
Hmm.
That's good.
Yeah.
So basically today we are going to talk about deployments, especially
Hmm.
with Dart and Flutter ecosystem itself. So talking more about Globe, which is
Hmm.
a tools that has been built by inverters.
Hmm.
First of all, before we just dive directly in the product itself, what are the prerequisites when people decide to publish or deploy an app, for example?
Yeah, so I think even before that, I would just like to talk about the whole entire deployments thing, like why I'm
Sure,
even
sure.
thinking about something like
Mm,
deployments. So when you develop your product, be it something that has to run inside of a browser or something that has to, execute some piece of code, it means you have to push this thing to some remote server that anybody anywhere in the world can, reach this server. Like that whole process, it's what we call deployment. So getting the
mm,
product from your computer or from your house to some remote location where your customers can reach it. That whole process is what we call the deployment. So if you're going to have to do that manually, then that's a manual deployment process that you have.
mm,
If you're going to have some process that is going to automate that whole cycle for you, then that's what you can call, I've automated my deployment process. Do you get? And then we can look at other existing, platforms like, let's say, Node.js, go to the JavaScript ecosystem, go to like Python, Ruby, and these other
mm,
kind of things. And those languages or those ecosystems have like established kind of ways where you build your product in the language, and then they tell you that, okay, if you wanted to deploy your application to, let's say, AWS, like these are the procedures you follow if you wanted to do those kind of things. Or maybe if you
mm,
had, like, let's say, a basic React application, and then you wanted to put it at a location where anybody can reach it via, like, say, a URL. They tell you
mm.
to go to something like Vercel, and then you
Yes.
click maybe just one single button, and then you upload or you link your GitHub repository, and then Vercel takes over. Or maybe you can bundle your React application with something like Webpack, and then you take all those build artifacts, and then you go and put it like on your
Mm,
server, and then you handle the rest of the thing. So that's basically what we are talking about as deployment. And then when you bring that concept to Dart and Flutter, like, what are we deploying? So in Dart and Flutter, basically the things that you can be deploying is your Flutter application. So as we all know, like, Flutter cannot, like, doesn't only run on your mobile devices, it can also run in the browser. It means you can
yes.
write like
Mm,
actual web applications with Flutter. So if you write your Flutter application and it works on your machine, and you need to, keep this in a remote location where everybody can access, then that's why we need to talk about the deployment process that should be involved in that. Does that make sense? Yeah. So,
yes.
and then when you talk about deployment for that as well, as we know, you can write like backend solutions with that. You can
Mm,
use your knowledge of that and then write, basically consume, expose some HTTP endpoints that a client can call, and then you can do some processing, and then you can return some fancy responses which the clients can consume. And after you write all these pieces of code, you need some kind of a tool chain or some kind of infrastructure to run that piece of code in the cloud. And for that specifically, the solution that most of us have been like going with is to use the Dockerization mechanism, where, if you know Docker, it's a way to kind of like containerize your application such that it can run anywhere. I mean, once we ship this image anywhere, it can run. If you create a basic shelf example from the CLI, you see that
mm,
the scaffolding comes with a Docker file, which basically the Docker file outlines the various steps that Docker needs to follow to like create an image of your data application, and then we can run that image anywhere. And then you have platforms that allow you to, deploy your Flutter applications. Basically, you do Flutter build, every release build, and
yeah.
then you get those HTML, and then your JavaScript files, and then those other things, and then they take over for you. So when we are talking about deployments, those are the kind of processes that
Mm,
we want to discuss over here. Yeah.
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 That's a lot of information there. But what are I can say you are just talking about different kind of
If
Dart.
you're still speaking, like, I can hear you. Could you check again?
Okay, okay. I think my just to make sure like
Yeah, I
can,
don't know if it's me,
can,
but like I can see
yeah.
you're talking, but then I can hear a thing.
Okay, that's pretty weird. Um, let me just check. And and
No,
now,
I can hear anything.
okay, okay, give me
You know what?
that is some kind of live streaming issue. Um,
Just a moment.
okay, let me check if everything is good.
Can you
Um,
hear me now?
yes, I can hear you, and you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a
Mhm.
bit afraid. I was like, what's happening
Mhm.
with my mic? Okay, so
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, okay. I was saying that currently you
Mhm.
were just talking about like different kind of backend tools of backend
Mhm.
language with like based on Dart. So
Mhm.
basically, without talking about Globe, if someone want to deploy, I can say the by the classic way to deploy his Dart
Mhm.
backend solution. What are currently those solutions they can use without using Globe, for example?
Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll first talk about the options that you have for deploying like your DAT applications. The
Okay.
first one off the top of my head is the Dockerization mechanism, which I spoke
Mm,
about. So
mm,
the way it basically works is you have a Docker file, which it's just a script that like outlines the various commands or the steps that Docker has to follow to create a image of your application. So the image just basically means like it is provisioning like everything that your that application needs to run. Do you get? And then once
mm,
we've created that image, we can send that image anywhere, and regardless of which platform that image is going to find itself, it will just start because it has everything that it needs to run. So that is the Docker approach. And then there are some other options which I haven't actually tried myself, but then the last time I
okay.
was reading an article that was outlining this kind of steps, like you can actually deploy your data applications to like Google Cloud. You can do things like that. Yeah. So basically, those are kind of like the two main options. But then the one I've seen the most, which I have actually like used myself, is the Docker approach, because I mean like Docker has been around for like a long while, and for programming languages that don't even have like this existing platforms, like let's say Vercel, we have Heroku, we have these other platforms like that don't have support for, let's say, all these new kind of programming languages. Your best foot is to go with Docker, because you can basically just bundle your application, define an entry point, and then your application just starts running. Do you get? Yeah. And then for Flutter, basically you can just build your Flutter application down to the basics of the web. Like you have your HTML file, you have your JavaScript, and then those other components, and then you can basically just deploy it like it's any kind of a web application, like similar to how you deploy your React applications. I think you can even deploy it on Firebase hosting. I think that kind of a thing.
Mm,
So yeah, there are just so many ways you can do it. But then for deploying that application specifically, the one I'm very much sure about is the Docker approach. Like, you just have to know how Docker works, and then you can figure your way out. Yeah.
mm. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So basically, if I really understand before we just dive directly into some question, what is Globe? Yeah,
Mhm.
I will let you talk more about Globe itself. Globe
Mhm.
solution. Yeah.
Okay. So Globe is basically a deployment platform, a deployment platform for that and your Flutter applications. Yeah, we are very specific on that. Globe is a deployment platform for your data and Flutter applications.
Mm,
And our big and very big aim is that, we want to simplify the entire process that is involved in deploying your Flutter applications or your data applications. And currently we have like a single command that does like all that kind of thing for you. So like I mentioned, like you don't have to know about, Docker. You don't know have to know about, all the options available on the Google Cloud dashboard. You don't know like you don't need to know about AWS, those kind of things. You don't need to know how to configure like load balancing rules and all those kind of things. You just have to focus
mm,
on the thing that matters most, which is your code, and you being able to like build the products that meet your customers need. So once you're able to focus on that, then we come in and then we take care of the remaining parts, which is to make sure that your application is deployed and then it reaches your users in the shortest amount of time. Yeah, so that's
oh,
basically what
okay.
we're doing with Globe.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Mm. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, it's some kind of like for people who really like using I can say Next.js or React.
Mhm.
Um, there are some solution also that use. I just forgot the name. I think we
I
talk
think it's Vercel or
about
something.
yeah, Versa, right? Thanks.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I can basically say that Globe is kind of versatile, but for Dart and
Hmm.
Flutter application, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mm.
you could say that everybody, but it still smiles at the end of the day. Vercel of that globe, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, okay, that's very interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if you have some maybe some demo or something
Mhm.
to show us, like so we can.
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
it will
Yeah,
be great that we can
yeah.
really understand how it's work and
Mhm.
probably use it later.
Okay,
So
okay. So I'm not too familiar with this interface. I want to share my
don't worry,
screen.
you just
Okay,
need to click on share screen
okay.
button.
Share screen. Okay.
Yeah,
Is my screen visible now?
not yet. Maybe you need to
Mm,
validate it once you click on it. Yeah.
okay, it says screen sharing is not allowed. Just a moment.
Ah, yeah. Maybe it is your browser.
I think so. And the weird thing is I'm using Safari, so I don't know.
Ah,
Screen
maybe that's why.
sharing. Okay, I'm just going to try
Yeah.
this again.
Sure,
Share
sure, sure.
screen. Okay,
Okay,
can you
nice.
see my screen now?
Yes, now it's perfect.
Amazing, amazing stuff. Okay, so I just scrolled past. Can you still see?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're seeing on my screen is a basic Flutter application that I kind of used it. If you've been following Globe or if you've been following me personally on
I
Twitter,
just I just noticed that you are using light mode, so we can be friends.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I was saying that when I'm not writing code, I make videos where I talk about Globe. So this was one of the projects that I used
Okay.
to showcase. So I think it's just going to be a good idea that I showcase this once again. So I'm just going to run
Sure.
this application. It's a simple Flutter application. I'm just going to wait
Mm.
for it to come up, and let's see. It's been a while. I did live demos like this. you know, you're so pumped up, and then something breaks, and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
you
Always, always. Yeah.
you're begging for time. Let me minimize this. Okay. So
Okay.
the flood application is up now, and I have this one fancy looking pizza here, and then I have times one, and then I have $10 here. Yeah. So this is a simple flood application, and basically with this application, I'm just supposed to see like one single pizza here. I see a counter here, and then I see a plus button. When I click this, you see that I
Yeah.
have uh I have the price and increase in here. So
Mm,
for 5 slices of pizza, I have to pay $50. Yeah.
mm,
So this is a flood application that is running locally on my computer. You see, and
mm.
then we are talking about Globe. So ideally, Globe is this deployment platform that we can use for data and flood applications. And with Globe, we can be able to deploy our application with a single command. So first things I need to do is I need to be sure that I'm logged into Globe. And even before that, you need to install the Globe CLI. I think I'll
Okay.
just provide links to that like at the end of the call. Like I wouldn't want to
Sure, sure. I will put it
waste
directly in the
time.
description.
Okay. So you do something like Globe login, and then it takes you to your browser, and then you have to do all that. And then you come back to this screen, and then it tells you you are
Okay.
logged in. Then the next
Mm.
thing I want to do is just to type, Globe deploy. Like that's all we require from you. So when you type Globe deploy, there are like a bunch of steps that you'd have to go through. Let me zoom in. Yeah, so it's asking you to link this project to Globe, and I'm going to say yes, and then okay, so as you can see, I have a lot of projects here. Okay, then it says specify the directory in which your project is in. Yeah, it's in my roots. And the name of the project, I'm going to make this Flutter Guys
Nice.
Pizza, yeah. And then, oh, you can see there is this one thing that shows up. It says detected Flutter presets. Would you like to use default settings? You see, so the CLI is able to like figure out
Okay.
that okay, this is a Flutter project, so let's use those uh, default build settings, and I'm going to.
So
Mhm,
I just have one question.
mhm,
Like, if it is not like Flora
mhm.
project, is he going to throw you an error, or maybe he's going to just
Absolutely,
try to
absolutely
deploy
not.
it?
So
Okay.
in Globe, I think one of the features that we worked on is the concept of presets. So we could have something like server port presets. We could have something like Dart Frog presets. We could have another one like, let's say, like basically just think of presets as like a template, like something that has a structure that we can just follow. Do you get? So Flutter applications is just one of the presets that we have, so we are able to detect that like on the run. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
So if you were to be running a Dart Frog application, it would detect that. So I'm just going to choose
Okay.
yes here.
So
Mhm,
currently, yes. Sorry, I'm just
mhm.
asking question because it's come in my mind
Yeah.
directly. But if you have like Dart project,
Mhm.
uh, like currently does Globe support every kind of Dart backend service, like Globe or Server Pod, for example, or
Mhm.
there are some that they are not supported yet.
Yeah, I think I can boldly say that every Dart project can run on Globe, but then there are some exceptions,
Okay.
because if you can
Mm,
compile your Dart code successfully, then it means it can run on Globe. But then there are some limitations that we have on our platforms currently, like if you're depending on some native binaries to run your application. Let's say you are using SQLite in your application where you need like that SQLite native binary, then your application won't
okay.
run on Globe. But then there are conversations going on internally how we can make those kind of things work. But so far, that's the
Mm,
only limitation that we have, because the recently we added support for serverpod, so you can, yeah,
okay.
you can deploy your serverpod mini applications on Globe, and that would work fine.
Mm,
So yeah, if your Dart code can compile successfully, you can run it on Globe. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Nice. Nice.
probably let me just speak about what is happening here. So as you can see, after I typed globe deploy, we went through a process where we linked the project to globe,
Mm,
which yeah, just a bunch of questions, and then we proceeded yes. And then after that, the deployment step. And basically what is happening here is, like Globe is a deployment platform. It means that, we have a whole tool chain setup that is going to take your code and then build this in the cloud. And then after that, we deploy it on our global edge network. Does that make sense?
okay.
Yeah. So we build the code and then
Yes.
we make sure that it is available like globally so that your clients can, reach this application. Yeah.
So
So this is
at
this is
least
probably
it's
going to
been,
take. Mhm.
yeah, at least
Go
it
on.
means that for every project we are going to have like specific endpoints, right? Whatever the project you are just deploy.
Yeah, so for every project that you have and then you type globe deploy, it is going to create a project for that. So probably while this is deploying, I could just show you the globe dashboard, and then we can talk about some things, and then hopefully after that our application should be deployed by the time we come back.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll just view the deployment using this URL here. Okay. Let's see. It's probably opened in another tab. Let me open this again. Open. Okay. Mhm. Uh, no, that opened somewhere else. Mhm.
You are looking for your brother, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for my browser. Let me just copy this thing. Yeah. Am I logged in into the account? Oh, I think I'm logged in into somewhere else. Yeah. So when
Okay.
you come to globe.dev, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to
Hmm.
log in here into my account. That should be Chima. Okay, so as you can see on the dashboard, I have lots of projects here, but you can see the one we just created, which is Flutter Guys Pizza app here.
Hmm.
So just tell me if I need to, zoom in, so maybe we can have a
Yeah,
better view.
you can zoom in later. I
Okay,
think.
so
Okay.
when you come here, you have some details, production deployment and preview deployment. So I'll just quickly talk about what this means. So in every like software development practices, you have like your staging environment, and then you have your production environment. And
Hmm.
when you're using Globe, we put that into consideration, and then we allow you to create staging deployments and production deployments. So
Okay.
what you can use staging deployments for is, you can, on a software engineering team, you can have a lot of teams that are working on different features, and you want to be able to test these features in isolation. Like, I want to be able to test, user creation. I want to be able to test, uh, adding items to the shopping cart and checking out. So all these things can be features, and you can deploy them on different uh, like staging environments, and then we can test them like differently. So for those kind of things, you can use, the preview deployments. And then when you are done with, all those testing, and then you want to deploy to, actual production, then, you can create a production deployment. And then the way you do that is to type globe deploy, and then you pass this prod flag. Yeah. So when you pass this up, this flag here, it's going to create a production deployment. But then if you don't pass anything, it's like by default going to be a preview deployment. So I'm just going to go
Okay.
into the deployments here, and then yeah. Before that, let's just be sure our application is running.
I
Yeah.
think it will be better.
Yes. So I mean, once your deployment is successful, you'd have the deployment URL here. I can just copy this, and then I can go here and then go open this. And yeah, so hopefully my pizza application should come up, and I should be able to order pizza. So as you can see,
Hmm.
our
Yeah.
application is up in the cloud, and yeah, you can see, yeah. So when I click this, you can see that, it's working exactly like it was working on my system locally. And let's go back to the globe dashboard and see some things there. So you can see that there is a deployment status
Yeah.
here, and then there is a build. There's a bunch of logs here that basically tells you what globe does when you do globe deploy. So we have a bunch of steps that, basically build your application.
So
Mhm.
currently you are not using like your GitHub or GitLab, for example, right? You are just deploy your
Mhm.
application directly from your terminal, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, I think we can talk about, how to link the GitHub, and then, automate the whole thing so that you
Yeah.
can just focus on your code. Yeah.
Hmm.
So basically, Globe builds your application and deploys it to our global network, like I mentioned. And when I say global network, traditionally, when you want to deploy like your application, you go pay for some single machine, let's say some M1 instance on AWS, and then
Hmm.
you put your application on that single machine, and then it's going to serve the request from every customer that you have, even if your customer is somewhere in Japan, and your AWS server is in somewhere in, let's say, US, east west one or something. The request is going to travel all along like that whole route, and then come down to the US for that request to be served. But then on our global network, like like your application is going to be replicated over all the available like nodes that we have. So like it means your application is going to be global, and it means that your application is going to be a lot closer to your customers than you can imagine. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Yes.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Hmm.
And then I think I'll just pause here for now. And then if you have any questions before we proceed, yeah.
Yeah. I think that there's just one
Hmm.
question just came in my mind is if, for example, you want to add a domain name, because this
Hmm.
one is something that is generated directly
Hmm.
um, when you just push your project, right? So if
Hmm.
you want to add a custom one, how can you proceed?
Yes, so that's an actual good question and an interesting one because for the couple of this months, like we've had a lot of people asking for, custom domains, being able to like
Yes.
put
I mean,
their own
yeah.
domains, and it's something that we are
Mm.
currently working on to get that out
Okay.
because we've had a lot of requests from people
Yeah.
asking
Okay.
for custom domains. So we currently don't have that, but
Mm.
then once we get that, like we
Mm.
would we would make an announcement as always.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So mhm,
Okay. So, what
mhm,
is, I mean, that's normal question. And I think for everyone who want to deploy his app, he's going to
mhm,
benchmark it for, I can say, different solution and price also.
mhm,
So, for
mhm,
example, if someone wants just to test Globe or
mhm.
deploy his first app, how much it cost? Like,
Yeah, so okay, so like yeah, before you commit into anything, you want to know like how much is this thing going to cost me before I move
sure.
my entire build infrastructure
Yes.
down
Yes.
down into Globe. Yeah, so currently Globe is in public preview. It means like all the users that we have on the platform, like they are basically using it for free. We don't
Okay.
charge them anything. You can have like loads of projects on the platform and build your applications, and
Okay.
we won't charge you anything. And that's just because we are kind of like polishing things and just making sure that we are serving our customers right before if we start asking them for to pay something like they
Mm.
get their money's worth. So yeah, pricing is something that we haven't implemented yet, but
Okay.
I mean, yeah, once we implement that, like I think everyone is going to be happy because
Yeah.
right now we are just trying to make the platform as stable as it can be so that customers can be very
Mm.
excited.
That's
Yeah.
nice. So, guys, don't hesitate to download and test Globe, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
download, just use it, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Amazing.
I think we can just quickly, get into the whole GitHub automation because I
Yes.
think
Mm.
that's the workflow that a lot of people are going to be using,
Sure.
you know.
Mm.
So let me see. I think I will just have to create a new GitHub repo. No, 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 no. I don't think I need to do that.
Okay.
Git log, git status. Okay. I think it should be git remote. I don't really know. Is it V? Okay. Yeah. So I think this is the project. Okay, so basically you can link, your Globe project to your GitHub repository, and then you can not, come here or go into your terminal to do anything. And then
Mm.
every time you merge code into your main branch, or maybe you are working on a feature branch, Globe is going to, automatically deploy staging builds for you. And then when you merge into your main branch, it is going to deploy, like create a production build for you. Yeah.
Mm.
So you can have branches like, let's say, feature slash user cards, and then any deployments that go, like any code that you push there, it's going to be on your preview environment. And then if you merge that feature branch into the main branch, it's going to create a production build for you. So the way you link your project to, Globe is when you come to the settings on the dashboard here, you have the general environment variables, and you have the Git section. So in the Git section, you have the so basically my account has like two organizations. That's one is
Okay.
entities, and then the other is code keys. So on my code keys, you can see that I have a bunch of repositories here. Yeah. And then
Mm.
these ones are showing here because I have connected them before, like they have access, like Globe has access to those repositories. But if you
Okay.
can see, if you can see your repo here, then it means you are going to click on this configure GitHub app, and then basically you're going to install it into your, uh,
Mm.
either your GitHub account or that repository that you wanted to have access to. So if I were to proceed with this, this is a whole process which I don't want to go through. So I'm
Yes.
just going to just click on connect here, which basically the project is the pizza store. So I'm going to click connect here. And when you do that, Globe is just going to, talk to the repository and,
Mm.
finalize all their dealings. And then you come back here. And then
Mm.
we have this option which says production branch. So you basically have to tell Globe which branch is your main branch, like which
Okay.
branch. is the main one that we should be pushing
Mm.
to production. So you can see I have my main here.
All
So
right.
imagine, let's say my production branch was, let's say, master. That would be master here. But then
So
mine is
if,
main.
for
Yeah.
example, I push direct, if I set my branch and I say, okay,
Hmm.
my main branch is master, for example,
Hmm.
and I push directly in my master, does
Hmm.
it are going to rebuild directly automatically and
Yes.
redeploy my app? Okay, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
Yes. So any commits that goes into your main branch would be like would trigger an automatic deployment on Globe. Yeah.
okay.
So I mean, once this is connected, I think let me just go into my GitHub and just confirm that cookies. Mhm. And then I go into my, here we have it, pizza store. Okay. Okay. So what is happening here? Okay. Origin main. Okay. Hmm. I just want to be sure that this is the repository we are looking at.
That's over. Yeah.
Okay. I just pushed, but for some reason it means this isn't it.
Maybe you are pushing on another one.
Yeah, this I'm sure there is another com slash
Or check the branch. Okay.
p branches.
No, I mean, there's
Let me
just
check
one branch.
check move env stuff. Hold up. Let me see. Oh, okay. That's it. This is the branch we should be looking at. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, as you can see, we have like once I did that push, let me just go into a new branch here. Feature slash, new change.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm going to do here is from the pizza example, let me run this application again. Yeah, so let me just give you a tiny walk through the code, what we are doing here. So we have a variable here that defines the price of a single pizza, this
Okay.
one. And then our initial counter value is one. So it means the price for one pizza is going to be $10. But let's just say that I'm changing this to, $5. Changing this to $5 because I need to please my customers. Yeah, so let me hot restart. So as you can see, one
Okay.
slice of pizza now sells for $5.
Yeah.
And then when I run this, you can see that let
Mm.
me, yeah, $5 here. Okay, so I have this change here, and you know in the previous application which we deployed,
It was at 10, right?
exactly it was at $10. Let me refresh this page. Okay, one slice of pizza was selling for $10. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm going to. Okay, so you can see I changed this to $5, and then I need to add this change, and I'm on a new branch as well. I'm on feature slash new change, and I'm going to do get commit change pizza pricing to $5. This.
Mm.
Did you see the comments message? Amend to $5.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, it's worked now. So I'm going to push this code to my new branch. See that? Okay, so I've pushed a new branch and I'm going to GitHub to confirm that. Okay. So as you can see now, I have two branches, new
Hmm.
change. And when I go to my new change, you can see that new change has changed pizza price into $5. Okay. Let me go here, then go to new change. Okay, so as you can see that I am on the new branch which says change pizza pricing to $5, and as you can
Yeah.
see here, there is a deployment that has been queued here.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So when I go here, I think for some reason I linked this project more than once, so it's showing me server port stuff. Anyways,
Oh, okay. All right.
uh, yeah, but no big deal. Let me see, Pizza Web. Anyways, I could just go to Flutter Guys Pizza here, and then when I go to
Mm.
deployments, you can see that we have there's a production build which happened for the time we pushed to the master here,
Mm.
and then the preview is for the branch that we here, the new change branch. Can you see
Okay.
this?
Yes.
Yes. So for every other branch that you do, you're going to get a preview deployment, and then for anything that goes to production. So just to verify, the pricing on our production branch was $10. So I'm going to use this URL and then go here.
And we are going to have like 5 tours, right?
No, the initial pricing. Sorry about that. The initial pricing that we had for application was $10, but then we have a new
Mm.
branch now in which we changed the pricing to five
Yes.
dollars.
Yes.
So
Yes.
until we merge that code, our
Okay. Okay.
pricing
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We
would
we
would
we, we
still be
haven't
$5.
merged it yet. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
all.
just going to wait for this deployment to be done so that we can
Yeah.
verify that our pricing has changed to $5. Let me see. Okay, it's still building. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think while it's still building, maybe you can ask me any questions or before this thing gets done.
Yeah. I think currently I'm just trying to following you.
Okay, okay,
Um.
okay. Then let me show you one more thing. So
Okay. Sure.
when we on Globe we have this thing called environment variables, and a lot of people will ask you like, why do you need environment variables? Like, and then we have packages like .env, you have envid, and those kind of things, and like people still ask like, why do you need environment variables? So
Oh yeah.
basically, yeah, when you're building an application, like there are some like very delicate uh configurations that you can't
Yeah.
like
Such
just
as
leave them.
some kind of API keys or whatever you
Exactly.
need for it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So and more importantly too, when you're doing like more of like server side things where you have like some key that you're using to hash a password or those kind of things, like it's much safer when you have this like stored in environment variables where you can read them later in the life cycle of your application than to like hard code them into your application. It makes them vulnerable. So you can add like environment variables if your application needs like some API key to talk to some other service somewhere. Globe allows you to add environment variables. And then I think a new addition which we did was the server port preset, which I talked about.
Mm.
So if your project is, let's say, Dart Frog, server port, you can just come and choose it here, and then everything would be automatically chosen for you, every setting. And then let's say in your project you are using, let's say, Flutter 3.2 point something. Globe allows you to choose the version of Flutter that you want as well.
Mm.
So you can come on here, and then if it was a Dart project, let's say this was a simple Dart project, you can also choose the version of the Dart SDK that you want. So you can use that 3.2.0, or you can use that 3.0.0,
Mm.
and
Okay.
everything will just automatically work for you. Let me just check on my deployments now and see. It should be done. Exactly. So it's done now. Okay. So this is the preview deployments that we saw, and you can see the source is from the new change branch.
Mm. The new branch we
Okay.
just create.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to copy this URL here, and then I'm going to keep this open though, this one, and then I'm going to open a new. How do you even
New
open?
tab.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, here. Then I'm going to open this. Yes. So you can see
Mm.
that this is the preview environment, and then this is the production environment. And then
Okay.
on here, I can test this change. One
I
slice of
as
pizza now.
the
Mhm.
Are you
Yes.
using the same URL for both of
No,
them?
no, these are different URLs.
Okay.
You can see that. Yeah,
Okay. Okay,
yeah.
okay. Yeah,
I
okay.
think for production URLs, the URLs are kind of pretty, like they look nicer. Let me just confirm. Go here. Okay,
Okay, it is shorter. Okay.
yeah. Let me go here. Okay, yeah, this is much prettier than this one. So this is the staging environment for the that change we have, that $5 change we have, and then this is the production environment for the existing $10 that we had in our business. So we can test this change in isolation. We can also keep our users still paying $10 for a slice of pizza, and then when we are okay with this change in our test environment, we can merge this code into our main branch, and then the
Mm.
pricing will be updated here. Yeah. Do you have any questions before I go and merge the code?
No. I think that's look
Mhm.
amazing because it will avoid to have, you can test just your code in
Exactly.
order to avoid to have some kind of, I can say, word issues before trying to
Mhm.
merge it directly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can test things without,
Mm.
breaking production branch or anything. So let me just go to my GitHub. I hate that I have to type github.com every time. Code keys and then pizza store. Where is that? Okay, this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a pull request into main my main branch from the feature new change, and the
Okay.
title here is going to be feature change, pizza pricing to $5. You know, I'm going to create a pull request. Okay, so for this pull request, there's nobody to review it, so I'm just going to merge it, merge it directly into my main branch.
Yeah, I don't think
Let
we
me,
have choice.
yeah, that's the thing.
Mm.
Okay, so once I merge this code, I expect that production users are now going to start paying
Mm.
$5 for the pizza. Okay, so it's like the build job hasn't kicked in yet. Let's give it a couple seconds. Exactly. So it's in now. So as you can see, ideally you would see only one of this, but then like I mentioned earlier, like I have linked this to some other projects, so
Yeah.
that's why we have this here. So Flutter Guys Pizza app is building. I can click on the details and then go check on the deployment, so you can see it is creating a production deployment for the main branch. Can you see
Mm.
that?
Mm.
Yes.
Yes.
So once this is done and we refresh our page here, we should now have one pizza slice selling for $5. Yeah. So that's basically the convenience that Globe is looking to bring to, like, Flutter and
Mm.
Dart enthusiasts. Yeah, and by the way, this is just Flutter. Maybe if we had more time, we would have gone into, looking into like a Dart
Yeah.
application, like how to deploy a Dart backend, but it's
Mm.
almost the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's look, I mean, amazing, and
Mhm.
it is very easy way to do it without thinking about how our service or backend, even if our Flutter app are going
Mhm.
to be built behind, and yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes. Like you don't need to think about anything else. You just focus on your
On your
code,
code,
serving your
right? Yeah.
customers, and then we take care of the remaining parts.
Mm.
Yeah.
So currently, like I was
Mhm.
saying, for now we didn't have like domain name configuration,
Yes.
so or DNS, whatever. So
Mhm.
if someone want to use it directly, he can just, I can say, use the link itself,
Mhm.
generate by Globe, or maybe just link it with some kind of redirect link also, for example,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think the custom domains thing is one thing that we are really prioritizing, because I
Yeah,
think like a lot of customers have been asking for that. So
sure.
yeah, I think it won't take long for us to have that. But yeah,
Okay,
it's really good feedback. It's really good
nice.
feedback. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. Let me check if my deployment is done. You know, Flutter builds can really take like a long
Yeah,
one for
I
some
mean,
reason.
behind this, how like how
Hmm.
it's very work, not in details
Hmm.
itself, but when just someone push directly from his
Hmm.
GitHub, how like Globe just handle the code and
Yeah.
try to deploy it. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you push your code or when you do something like globe deploy, first
Mm,
we have to like pull the code that you want to deploy from wherever it is. If you're
mm,
deploying locally, it means we have to like bundle this code and then send it over the wire to our deployment service to do everything. Or if you're deploying from GitHub, it means we have to pull the code from GitHub
mm,
into our build infrastructure, and then we are going to use the version of the if it's a Flutter application, we are going to use a version of the Flutter SDK
okay.
that you requested to build this application. And then when we build it, like I mentioned, like we build it down to like web native components, like that's your HTML and your JavaScript and yeah, basically all those kind of things. And then there is another service that makes sure that we distribute this Flutter application on our global network. Yeah, and I think our UI kind of tries to make you understand what is happening, so it doesn't feel like magic.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah, so that's why we make the steps available, so it doesn't feel like it's just magic.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So
that's
for
basically what
yeah.
happens.
So if someone had an error, for example,
Mhm.
uh, or I don't know, maybe do you have some kind of log service for him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's a good question because everything we've been doing so far has been successful and nothing has
Hmm.
has broken yet.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. So maybe I would just let's take a look at the change we made. Then I'll
Okay.
try to simulate a failure into our build, and
Hmm.
then we can see how the platform treats us when something fails. Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to copy. I don't need to even copy anything. I just need to refresh my production URL, and then we should now have one slice of pizza selling for $5.
Yeah.
Like we mentioned, this is production, and this is our staging branch. So you can see how easy it is to use Globe, like integrate it into your existing team, like build process and everything. Yeah.
Hmm.
So for this part of the video, I'm going to induce like some build failure into our application,
Sure.
and
Let's
to do
just
that,
break the app.
yes, it's very easy. I just need to just write some no, do I even need to do this? Let me just do this. Like this isn't going to compile.
Okay.
This is going to fail. And then I'm going to
Def-
commit this change to my main branch, and then I'm going to break production. Let me just
that
Mhm.
doesn't sound good, in real life,
Yeah,
but
I mean let's make a big something big. Let me go into my main branch, check out main, and then I'm going to commit directly. Okay, this code won't compile, and then I can do something like git status. I'm going to lib main commit and break production. I'm going to push this to my main branch. Oh, updates were requested because the work. Oh, I need to pull something. Do I need to pull something origin main? Yeah, I matched some piece of code. Oh, come on. Rebase. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully we should break production in a couple of minutes.
hopefully. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like this.
Okay. So a build is in progress to production.
Okay.
Okay. Waiting for build. Okay.
Mm.
So yeah, so we are probably reaching the end of the stream. I mean, while we wait for production to break, maybe we can discuss some
Yeah.
other things. Yeah. Hmm.
Oh my god. I don't think like in rare it is not like advice for people who are just watching us to test this
you
in
know,
production directly.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
you can lose even if your job or your mission if you
yeah.
are working as a freelancer. So
Yeah, I think the only reason I'm feeling like really confident doing this is because I want to test Globe. Like I've been working on Globe, but then I haven't really broken
Mm,
it
yeah.
to see like, okay, if an error happens, like how do we treat the customer? Do you see?
Mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm.
that's what I want to see here. Okay, so this is going to take a couple of you know. hmm, I just wished Flutter builds were like just quick. Just wished they were quick.
But I think it's going to
Hmm.
be break directly on the build step.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Hmm. Dun, 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 dun,
if
dun.
it pass, I would be like,
Yeah, I mean, if it passes, then it means there's some hidden error in globe build infrastructure, and that would be some bug that I would have to fix tomorrow, which I don't want to do. So let's just hope it
um, pe-
doesn't it
people
breaks.
are asking me to share the link. Oh, are you talking about the link of Globe or the link of the project we are just building right now? If they let me just copy paste the link of Globe
Hmm.
directly in the comment section.
Yeah.
And for sure, I will definitely put it directly in the description also.
Hmm. Mhm. It shouldn't take this long to break an application, should it? It shouldn't.
Maybe
Oh,
he's trying to
finally, it
fix it.
failed.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so hopefully we should see some logs. Okay, so pub spec check passed, install dependencies passed, execute build runner passed,
Okay,
and then install presets. We aren't using, yeah, we are using Flutter presets, but there's nothing to install. Then in the
okay.
build, it says what? Let me just zoom this in.
Yeah,
It
I
says
can.
home page state is missing implementation for these members. Exactly. Yes, it's yeah, here we are missing the
Okay,
implementation. Yes.
okay.
So when things fail as well, you can see detailed logs that give you an idea of what to do, just
Hmm.
like when you're building locally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what.
So I think everything is working fine, and customers should be happy when things fail as well.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's Globe. I just wished we had more time so that we could talk
Hmm.
about deploying that backend applications as well. But
Yeah, I think definitely we are going to reschedule maybe
yes,
another one and
yes,
talk about Dart, how to
yeah,
deploy Dart app, and yeah, why
mhm,
not?
yeah.
Sure. People are just asking about the link. I don't know if you want to share the
Okay,
project
I
link
yeah,
with
I think
them.
I can share this.
Yeah,
They can have a play with the application. Let me
yeah.
projects and then the where do I have to paste that in the comment
Can,
section?
can you
Can I do
paste it?
that?
Oh, maybe just send. Yeah, just
Okay.
there. So I
Yeah.
will copy paste it
Hmm.
directly and there. Okay, done. Done. That's perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. People said that they very love it. Yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah.
everyone should use Globe. I will
Hmm.
also try it because um I've been working on some
Yeah.
kind with Dart.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely. I don't know if we have question or so.
Hmm.
I think the presentation was pretty clear, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Hmm.
So first of all, well, I think we are just having to the end. I don't know if
Hmm.
you have something to say before we
Mm,
just yeah.
I I don't really have anything
Mm,
that new to say aside the fact that like globe is meant to make things easy for like developers, because
mm,
most times you spend your time like outside of what you should be doing that would directly impact your application, like configuring some service, and you're having like a whole dashboard with a lot of moving parts. You have to
mm,
configure databases, configure like like load balancers. You have to configure like CDN for your static assets and those
Mhm.
kind of things. And those things can like consume your time that you should have been spending, building your application and attending to your customers' needs. So when you have a platform like the way Versal is doing for these other ecosystems,
Mm,
you have Globe, making sure that you focus on your code, and then we handle everything, infrastructure,
sure.
deployments, and everything. Yeah. So I think, yeah, that's all.
Nice.
That's all.
And we have
Mhm.
at least last question. I think I will
Mhm.
let you try to just answer.
Mhm.
The person say I have one question. Do you recommend Flutter Web if he want to build like a learning platform like Udemy, for example?
Mm, so this kind of questions are questions that you have to ask the person, like like which platforms are you targeting first? Do you get?
Mm,
Like, but then I guess he mentioned Flutter Web, so I'm guessing you know
mm,
he's going towards the
mm,
web. And Flutter Web can work perfectly for things that you're building where they are web apps. Like, we have websites and then we have web
yes,
apps.
yes, yes,
If you're
yes.
building a web app, Flutter Web can be everything you need. On like, there are just some few cases where you could run into like performance issues where you want more from the framework, like you're doing animations and you care about that super sleek animation, and then Flutter is just not like pulling its weight. Do you
Mm,
get? So I think Flutter Web can hold well for web apps and those kind of things. And like, also, if you build your applications in Flutter, it's easy to just make some change and then your application is running on iOS and Android. So I mean,
mm,
it's totally up to you to choose your tools based off what you want to achieve.
yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, he can also build his backend if he didn't want
Uh,
to
you
use
know.
Firebase and apply it directly on the globe. So
Yeah, yeah, that's equally possible as well.
okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think we have just reached the end. So I
Okay.
really want to say thank you, and it was
Okay.
big pleasure to have you there. And of
Mhm.
course, I think we are going to do it also for
Absolutely,
backend
absolutely,
service. Yeah,
absolutely.
so people can really understand.
I really love to do this kind of things. Like, when
Mm,
I'm not writing code, I like to talk
mm,
about the things that I'm working on and just make a
sure.
whole lot of noise about it. So, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, it is very nice solution and
Mhm.
above all, nice explanation also from you. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
thanks
Thank you.
again for
Thanks
your
for having
time.
me.
Yeah, yeah, and see you
Yeah.
guys. Bye bye.